how to actually create ads, what are the different formats, what are best practices creatively to bring an ad together.
When you have a business, one of the most important things,
like now,
it's the offer.
quickly.
A lot of leads coming in, you're good for business.
Look at that,
On your
people.
lead gen journey, you just gotta make sure that whatever you do, you always have leads coming in.
Read this book.
Use that money for ads.
Hello, so welcome to this episode. Today we're going to talk about lead generation. And when you think about lead generation, you can reach out to cold audiences, you can reach out to warm audiences, warm audience being people you know, cold audience being people you don't personally know yet. And you can reach out in a way that you do it one-to-one. So as a DM to someone, direct message, reaching out to an individual, or you can do it one-to-many, which is reaching out basically to a mass audience. And today we're going to talk about paid ads, which is the most common path to reaching out to a cold audience from one to many. And today we have an amazing expert with us here, Bruno. I don't want to get this wrong. So Bruno is the CEO and founder of Insight, and he is spending or has spent millions in ad yearly and producing millions in email marketing as well. So he's clearly an expert in this topic. He earned his first dollar online at the age of 12. Can you believe it? And he traveled the world working in the music industry, actually, as his background, and is now building 2 software companies on the side. So with that, welcome to today, Bruno. If you have anything to add to this, feel free to go on that.
Thank you. First of all, that's a generous intro, so thank you. I don't have anything to add in particular. I just want to thank you guys for the invite. And actually, I want to kickstart the podcast right, so hold on a second. All right, so summing it up, I know how much you love Hormozy. I also really like the guy. And I decided to get you a little gift.
Wow.
Because we are talking about lead gen.
Nice.
So there you go. You can get started.
That's amazing. Look at that,
on your
people.
lead gen journey.
Wow.
Because I know how much you like leads, and that it's actually a pretty good book, actually.
Amazing.
You'll get a lot of value out of it.
Thank you,
Thank
Bruno.
you.
This is so nice. And actually, the framework I was mentioning earlier, cold, warm, one-to-one, one-to-many, that was also from Hormozy. So thank you. This is amazing. And anyone out there, if you're trying to get into lead generation, read this book from Hormozy. It's awesome. It's given us a lot.
Hormozy, I'll send you the invoice after for promotion.
And I think you just got your passport.
You may want to keep that. Oh, that was the secret passport. Okay. Thank you, Bruno. This is very kind of you. Thank you very much.
No problem. I was in between giving you that or a tennis racket, but I would be kind of sad because you would kick my ass because he's amazing at it. So I was like, all right, the book is more suitable.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So nice. Yeah, we exchange. I give you tennis and you give us like ads knowledge. So I give you tennis knowledge.
Sounds great.
Works well. Cool. Anyway, so let us look into today in more specifics. So we have 4 main topics prepared. For one, when and why to run ads in the first place. I want to capture this first with you and just based on your experience. And then for 2, imagine now you know when and why to run ads. What's the technical or in general the infrastructure you need to prepare before you can even get started with the ads? Now imagine your infrastructure is right and it makes sense for you to start ads. The third point I want to discuss today is how to actually create ads. What are the different formats? What are best practices creatively to bring an ad together? And then last but not least, how to run your first ad experiments, what time frames, what money spending, how to think about that so that anyone who's listening to this can, who's just starting with ads or who is thinking about starting ads will get a really good foundation. So if you see yourself in any of that, I'm sure you'll get a lot out of this today. All right. So with that said, let's dive into point 1. What's the right business stage to run paid ads and why? And just to give you like maybe Bruno, before I give you the mic, the virtual mic, it's basically 4 business stages that we always talk about in our business, from idea generation to validating this idea by getting actual paying clients to then building systems, repeatable sales systems that you can repeat. And then as a last but not least, to scale your company using those systems. So if you think about those 4 stages, like what's the first stage where you think it makes sense to use ads and what are some of the use cases that come to mind? And I'll just follow up on questions as they come up.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes that actually people make is they start ads very late or they start ads way too early. And that can really make or kill a business, because you need to be able to have an infrastructure that can support a specific ad spend, which can differ from business to business. but you also should do it at some point so that you don't rely on cold email, cold DMs, which is scalable to a certain point, and not as scalable as ads, obviously. Now, going into when you should first start, it really depends on business per business, but a good rule of thumb is you have a business that's already structured and it's making money currently, it's profitable, you're making a decent amount of money on a monthly basis, and you have free cash flow that you can allocate to ads. Because one of the biggest issues that people have is not knowing how to manage cash flow, and then they end up investing funds into ads that they need for their business operations or for other business needs. So I would say have enough cash flow that you can allocate, maybe as an experiment, $50 a day for ads, so you can test it and see how it goes. And when you should do it when you have a business that already has clients, it has been working out well for you, and you want to really scale it. And then you can actually use it as a way to test as well multiple different offers inside your business. So when you have a business, one of the most important things, and also in ads, and I know that you guys refer to it a lot, it's the offer. And the cool thing about ads is that you can really put your offer out there and get into a very big, massive audience pool that is wanting to buy your product or might want to buy it, your ideal target, and you can test multiple offers and see which one converts best. And then you're working with accurate data, and you're not just going off of the premises of what you know people need.
Okay, so let me just kind of recap this for myself in the head. So for one, you mentioned, you first mentioned when you have, already some cash flow going, even ideally profitable, and you have some customers coming on. So that's already in my head. If I talk about the 4 business stages, you already have validated your idea. There's money coming in on a semi-regular basis, and it's profitable. And now you have some additional cash flow that you can use from what's coming in to invest into ads to make what you got going bigger. And then the other use case that you mentioned after that was like, also testing different offers. I mean, correct me if I was wrong, but it's like if you have 2-3 offers, or you're coming up with a new offer and you want to test and validate that with an audience, you have a quick way to get this to a lot of people, and that's also another way of using ads at the validation stage as well. How did I capture that, or would you?
Yeah, exactly. But the idea is that you always try to improve your offer, because the offer can give you a better outcome. So you just build an offer around your business and you test multiple different angles and you see which one converts at the highest level. Actually, a lot of the times, the essence of the business is the same, but you package the offer differently and it can completely change your business. And going back to what you said, people that are on more of the ideation phase and they don't have a business going on, I definitely don't recommend that you start ads unless you've got actually a lot of budget. Or in other business models, it might actually make sense, not necessarily for leads, but for example, if you have a software and you want to test an idea to see if the market is really likes the idea and wants to buy from you, that software solution, you can do a wait list and send people off to one wait list and leverage that base that you build, that email base, to then promote the software when it launches. Or if you have a business that you want to build a waitlist for, that can be a use case. Usually for coaches, for people that do service-based businesses, I don't think it makes much sense. But if you want to sell a product or you want to sell software and you want to do a waitlist, it might potentially make sense to do it that way as well. Yeah.
So somehow, like, it sounds to me, right? Like, doesn't matter what it is, that people must have an offer, right? Because like when we're talking about products, right, or like software, it's something that you already have, or at least have in mind, like how it can look like before you actually start getting people through the ads, like to buy this product. And when we talk about like service-based businesses, right, if you don't have like a clear offer, if you're still wobbly about like what it is, like whom actually you are serving with this offer, it's actually like just throwing money kind of like out of the window. That's how it sounds to me.
I don't care if you have a service-based business, a product business, or a software. If you don't have an offer, you don't have a business, period.
But it's like, I'm just asking because like we actually hear this very often, and it's like why I want to like kind of jump in and to reiterate this, because we have people like clients coming to us, right? And they don't really have like a niche yet. So they're like coaches, for example, like a very, very typical example, right? The coach like just starting out after the coaching school, and they're like, oh, I can coach like anyone on anything, right? And they don't have an offer yet. They don't have a clear niche. They don't have a clear definition of what their customer is. But they're like, I think I should launch paid ads like now, quickly, like to just like, you know, that's the clients should come like from the sky, like raining over me.
I don't mean to say it in such an abrupt way, but that's kind of delusional.
But that's me, you know.
That's kind of delusional, even though Every single business must have an offer. That's just it. If you don't have an offer, you don't have a business. But you can be a coach and you can be versatile and you can be good in multiple areas. So what you can actually do is create an offer for a specific market and then create other offers that make sense for other markets. And you can test both markets and both niches and see which one resonates most with the audience. And then you can go with what gets you better results. So you don't go based off of a feeling and you go based off of real hard data. That could work. For example, has an agency and we work primarily with info product, e-commerce, and also do lead generation. We have an offer for leads, we have an offer for e-commerce and an offer for info product, and it's not the same because it's completely different businesses structured in a completely different way. So what we could do then is create ads for each one of these categories and see which one actually resonates more with the customer and go with that model. So it's if you're a coach or if you are a business consultant and you can, for example, talk about merger and acquisition, but you are also knowledgeable on other areas, you can do an offer for each one of those sectors and see which one actually outperforms the other and then go based on that. But you should always have a niche, at least something in mind. For example, if you are a business consultant, you want to talk with entrepreneurs. Okay, now you want to talk with people that are going through the sale of their company. That's a specific type of entrepreneur. Or you want to talk to someone that's wanting to pay less taxes with a structure that's legal. That's another kind of entrepreneur. But it still comes down to entrepreneurs. And then you can break it down into multiple offers. This is something that I actually saw an attorney doing. He's very good with exits, and he's also good with paying less tax. So he has both of those offers for different audiences, but the offers should always be changed and applicable to that specific market, because the person that wants to pay less tax is not going to resonate with the person that wants to do an exit, and vice versa. So it needs to be specific to who you are talking to. Just like if I talk with you and I talk about e-commerce, you're going to be like, okay, meta coaching isn't really about e-commerce. And if I talk with you about info products, you might resonate because it's actually your business. So you just got to make sure that whatever offer you run, it's tailored to that specific audience. And then you can split test. But you should at least have a niche and have an offer is a must. To get started, you can have multiple offers once again to test them.
Okay, so when I have an offer and I want to test this and I want to test this efficiently, and maybe I have two offers for two different markets that I have in mind running, and I'm not sure which one I should like really go after, I could in theory use paid ads as a tool to more quickly test. Of course, I cannot expect at this stage to make profits from the ads potentially yet, because I'm just testing the offers. But if I have 50 euro per day times 20 days, that's like 1,000 euro for a 20-day experiment. If I have that spare and I have a runway that's very comfortable and I can spend that money, I can quite quickly then figure out which offer tends to have the best traction, seems to have the most natural response from the market. Is that a use case?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay, so is there anything else in terms of what stage of the business, from like validation to building systems to like scaling your company, like most common use cases? I know you talked about audience building in the very beginning of that process, when you're just starting out, maybe you don't have big enough of an audience yet. And we always talk about, in the beginning, don't spend money on ads actually if you don't have anything validated yet out there. Whilst you just said, you can spend ads, it just costs a bit of money, but if you want to do social media marketing, for example, to build your business in the beginning, your network is limited at some point, right? So in order to get the same results coming over and over again, you need to grow your audience. So that's also another way to use paid ads. Is there something maybe to speak to this in terms of like, at what stage does that make sense, that use case?
Yeah, there's a lot on that subject. Before going into it, I actually would like to just summarize what we talked about before in a very concise way, just because
Amazing.
I'm like you. I'm like you. I like structure, and I could sit here and talk for hours about stuff. But if you want to like get the gist of it in 1 second, it's essentially if you want to start running ads for your business, specifically lead generation. I'm only exclusively talking about lead generation because e-commerce, it's another breed. Info product, it's completely different. So focusing on lead generation, you should start it once you have enough cash flow that you can support spending this money. And don't look at how much you're making per month, because usually people look at cash flow in terms of my business is bringing 10K a month. All right, what are your expenses? And then what are your living expenses? And how much do you actually have of disposable income? Disposable income meaning money that you can literally burn. Use that money for ads. And if you have anywhere between 1 to 1.5K a month, I think you can test something out with ads with that kind of budget for lead generation specifically. And then you need to have an offer in place. That's an absolute must. You can split test multiple offers for multiple different sectors, but you should have enough cash flow and disposable income that you can use ads, and you should actually be a profitable business. I don't recommend any business that's unprofitable to run ads. In the service-based industry, when you're talking about product, you might be one of those persons that loses money on ads but makes money in lifetime value, because this is also another thing that's very important. People don't understand if they are making money on ads or not, because you can lose money on ads. You can have a $1,000 product and you pay $1,200 to acquire customers. So in theory, you are losing $200. But if that customer spends more $2,000 with you throughout the year, you are making money. Because you lost $200 at the beginning, but he's spending more $2,000, so you still made 1.8K with that particular customer. So there is a lot of strategies, a lot of ways to look at ads. The idea is, I like to call it the ABC rule, which is always be closing. Or for e-commerce, always be selling, ABS, I guess. So you just gotta make sure that whatever you do, you always have leads coming in and you can convert those leads. And if you currently have a lot of leads coming in, you're good for business. It's a numbers game. So if you always have leads coming in, you have a business. And it's a bliss to do ads, because if you don't do ads, you got to go off of cold email. You got to be on top of things, micromanage emails, micromanage replies. If you actually have a system in place for ads, a lead generation system, you have the ads running and you take the call and you close the client. And potentially you need to follow up with some of them to make sure that they go through the call and through the sales process. But it's a far better system than relying on people replying to your emails and etc., especially now that people are getting bombarded with those. And by the way, I made a lot of money with cold emails, so we can talk about that too. But ads, like, there's no comparison in terms of the scalability. And the way that it works is you essentially wake up and there's people coming to your business. It's a complete different feeling than you having to outreach to people and you having to set up a cold email system. It's another type of breed. Now,
this was summarizing the lead gen element of it, right?
It was summarizing when you should start the lead gen process.
Okay, perfect.
With ads.
I wanted to ask a question, if I may, because I don't know, like, just your opinion on it, Bruno, because, like, I don't know what's best. So, like, I have an opinion on that, but generally, like, should you try ads before you made sure that your kind of like organic content is already generating leads, or like what's your opinion on that? Because, like, I, for example, believe that's like you should not invest in ads until you know that your organic content generates leads and brings people in the business. Because if you haven't figured that piece out, like, why would you start running ads, you know, like if you don't even know what organically works already to attract people to you?
So I would actually argue that both case scenarios are right. There's no right or wrong. You can run ads without having an organic profile. But one thing I'll say, if you have a brand and you have an organic profile, whatever ads you run will always do better. Always. So I would urge people to focus on building a personal brand. That's actually part of the reason why I'm here today, because I can clip this into many different videos. And you guys are essentially giving me like a month's worth of content in an hour. So that's good. But that's the whole idea. You first want to build a personal brand, and then you want to leverage ads, or you can leverage ads without ever having a personal brand. I've made a lot of money for clients and for myself specifically without having a personal brand. So you don't need a personal brand to run ads. But of course, just as an example, Hormozy here, if he runs ads, he has like, what, 5 million followers? I don't even know. I have no idea, but he's very well known. You just see his face and those big muscles and you know who he is. So if you see an ad from someone that you know, you're way more likely to purchase rather than seeing an ad from someone that you don't know. That doesn't mean that you won't buy it. You'll still buy it and you can make a lot of money. But if you know the person, if it's a familiar face, you are more likely to buy it. That's why building an audience is important. And then you can get into warm audiences like we were talking about. Because if someone knows you, it's a warm audience, so they are more likely to convert because they have seen your content, they know who you are.
So they have some base
and you
trust.
have their data, so you don't have to spend money to reach out to them.
I mean, you can still reach out to them with ads and do like a lookalike audience or like an audience of the people who follow you. And usually those ads, when you market to warm audiences, they always convert better than when you market to someone that doesn't know you. And that's just the name of the game. And it's the same in personal relationships. If I call you and ask you for a favor, you are more likely to do it than if a random person calls you. It's the same with ads. It's just basic knowledge. Now,
just because I'm like, you're going on the personal brand angle, and I think what Olga was talking about is this like copywriting skills. Like, do I know? I mean, let me explain. Bruno's like, what the fuck? like if you think about like, you know, producing organic content, it's like if I write it in this way, people are actually coming to me and asking me questions, and it's interesting. If I'm writing in that way, nobody ever comes to me. So if I understand organically, writing about my offer and what I do in this way catches people. If I figure that out, I can now translate this to ads very efficiently. If I haven't got that figured out, I may have to go through a lot of ads cycles to figure out what actually is the copy that captures people, and I may spend more than needed money to do the same thing. I think that's where she was coming from in the beginning, when it's like, at what stage should I put an ad live, even before I even figured out what's the language to use that captures people.
That's true, meaning that what works on organic will work well on ads most of the time. Yeah. There's a caveat to it, which is when you do personal brand, you don't want to be selling. You actually want to provide a shit ton of value. I don't know if I can curse, but I just...
You can curse.
You can.
Yeah, so the idea is you want to, like with organic content, you want to provide a shit ton of value absolutely for free, ask nothing in return, and then at some point you present them an offer. So what you said there about writing about your offer, you should have a clear way of explaining what your offer is, but you shouldn't actually write about your offer. You should write about stuff that will help people that want to potentially take your offer.
So I'm going to have to talk about this for a second, because it's like we preach usually the opposite of this. Okay. And I'm going to explain the logic. So normally, yes. And I think this is where actually most people are coming from, right? A lot of times from clients, we hear this, but I've worked in marketing and, you know, in a company, and I know my marketing. We need to talk like, you know, 80% of the time give value, 20% of the time, you know, make an offer, but it's more about giving value and building the brand. But when you're just starting out, you know, we're thinking like, you know, I just had the idea in my head, I want to be a coach. You know, I want to help people with career development. We usually would tell people, first understand if anyone is even willing to spend any money on that. And in order to figure that out in the most effective way, if you don't do ads, for example, just giving value to people and talking about your brand will not give you this answer. You may talk for a year about value and people follow you and they love your stuff and nobody ever buys. And the second you make an offer, it's like, oh no, that crap I don't want. I like your brand, but I don't want to buy that stuff because it's not relevant for me. Not at this price point, not in this format. So we usually tell people as quickly as possible before you dive into brand building, just put the offer out there to your network, which trusts you already. That's why we tend to go with organic, because the chance is higher that people trust you because you're no name in the beginning, but your surroundings, they know you. And then you can very quickly, for 20 days, you just push, I have an offer, I have an offer, I have an offer, I have an offer, while it's telling your story, doing it in an authentic way, not just like the offer, but talking about your journey, talking about yourself, talking about, you know, what your offer is and why it is good. Building authority, explaining people, and that's kind of where you would make the offer. And we actually tell people, do make the offer in 21 days, very efficiently, in the very first time you're getting out there, just to see, I'm getting a paying client. Someone actually bought this, and it's, you know, people are willing to spend money on it just for the confidence, for their first testimonials, for this, like, okay, there's something there. I can now iterate and make it better. And that's kind of why we say, you know, and then it becomes the stage of now you need to grow your audience, because your audience right now is going to be gone at some point. You've worked through it. So now you need to build a brand and grow a personal brand and grow an audience. So you keep having more people to sell to over time. And that's a slightly different game. So that's, I don't know what you think about that. And feel free to disagree. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's interesting actually to have different opinion than what we have and experience that we have with that.
What you are saying makes sense. I would do it personally differently, but that doesn't mean that what you're saying is wrong. What you're saying is when you are really, really at the early stage, which is probably not to the people I was speaking to, because I was speaking about people that have disposable income to spend on ads. So if you have disposable income to spend on ads, I assume you have a business that makes money.
Yes.
But if you don't have disposable income to spend on ads and you're really starting out, it might make sense to start by selling your offer, because you gotta ABC, always be closing. So you want to make money and bring people to your business. Now, the only place where I slightly disagree is I wouldn't do that through organic content. I would do it at the very beginning, because I might have, I don't know, 200 followers, 500 followers, and I might not sell my services yet, but I'm a tennis guy. So I have a lot of people that like tennis in my circle, and potentially they want to be coached by someone. So I can just put my offer out there and be like, look, if you want to get tennis coaching, I'm actually starting to coach people, and you can come and play, and I can give you lessons.
That's what I was referring to.
That makes sense, because you already have a potential amount of clients that follow you because you are in that circle. And usually before people start selling their services, they are in somewhat of a circle of people that relate to that potential
Which
service.
is why we tell you to niche down in a place where you have authority and where you already have a network in, because it makes it so much easier and quicker to, get to some results like you just explained.
So it makes sense. So I would do that at the very beginning to get some clients in, but I wouldn't necessarily keep on doing that for 21 or 30 days. I would either reach out to the network personally myself because they know me, or I would try to put that offer out there through stories and perhaps 1 or 2 posts at the beginning. And then what I would do is, if I don't have the ability to run ads yet, because I'm really starting, there are other ways to validate the offer. For example, cold email, cold messages. You can get in front of 25,000 people in a month with cold email. And it's very, very cheap, and it's super easy to make a profit on, because you spend like $100 to $200 to run that system. So if you get one client, you are profitable in most cases. It really depends on the business. So the only difference of what I would do there is I would put my offer out there to the people that already know me, so that I can get some sales and I can always be closing. But then I would revert back to other systems such as cold email. Facebook audiences is a very big one. People don't take enough advantage of that. If you want to validate your offer and you want to, I don't know, let me think of a quick example. You want to do a product service for accountants. You want to get accountants more clients. Even though accountants, usually it's a bad niche because they are very rigid in the way they get clients, but it's just a bad example, I think. So if you want to, or if you want to get a videographer more work, and if you are a guy that specializes in running ads for videographers so they can get more client work, go on a community with video people. And if you are international and you can run ads everywhere, go on the Portugal, which is where we are, community, then go on the UK community, then go on the US community. And when you look at the list, at the pool of potential clients, there are like 1 million of them in Facebook groups that you can reach out to 100% for free. And another thing that you can actually do...
I just wanted to tell to this because I call it don't pick individual apples, shake an apple tree, go to where these people are in quantity, right?
Yeah.
And reach out to them.
Yeah, and if you are really, really starting out, I think the best way to learn is by doing it for free, actually, which most people disagree with me. But I think if you never had a paying client to do that type of service, doing it for free or going to someone that's doing it and learning from them, mentorship, and paying for that is actually the best way that you can ever learn something. But just go on those communities, talk with people that are there, and you can figure out potential clients in those communities. So the only difference from what you are saying, which I believe makes sense, is I would do that at the very first moment, but I wouldn't do it for like 20 days. Because if you're doing it for 20 days, that's almost like a brand building strategy, but you are building a brand that its premise is just selling and it's not giving value. So I would do that. I would reach out to all of my network. I would put posts up for a couple of times, like reiterating my offer, but then I would go immediately towards valuable content. And we can talk about brand building with ads, because that's actually something that most people don't talk about. I don't know if that's because they want to keep that as a secret for themselves because it's way too good. But brand building with ads is actually way cheaper than doing lead generation or any other thing, and you can actually build a very big audience and build authority in the game.
So brand building with ads, because you mentioned this to me also a few weeks ago, hey guys, why don't you do this strategy? And it's basically just to clarify, because it may not be obvious, it's about increasing the amount of followers, for example, on your Instagram profile. That would be brand building with ads, a strategy to maximize eyeballs and followers in your universe. Is that what you mean with brand building? Or
yeah, I don't like the term following though. I prefer the term audience, because you can make money off of
audience
them.
building,
not just followers. But yeah, that's
as an example.
That's essentially it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But how would you do that, right? So you want to discuss that?
Yeah, no. So I think we need to wrap up the first point soon. But I think we talked a lot about lead generation, and we have a slightly different standpoint on the first 21 days, because you would not do it for 20 days. We would do it for 20 days from the perspective of, and I just have to say this because I didn't want to leave it out there, whilst we always say it differently, that nobody sees your post. If you post twice, nobody from your audience has seen it. If you have 500 tennis people in your audience, you post twice, nobody will have seen it. Like very small percentage of these people will have seen it. So therefore, posting it 21 days gives everyone a chance to have understood. And we don't say random 21 posts and not selling, but there's a certain structure of like building your personal positioning. I have a story, a background, I have an authority, I have certain results, experience, that positions you as an authority. Week 2, you explain the logic, the methodology, which all gives value because you explain people how to solve the problem, and you have internalized all these solutions in one master solution, which is your offer, right? So you're still selling, but you're also educating people, and you're also giving value, you're also connecting personally. So we have, maybe I just need to, it will be another episode to go deeper into this, and we actually have one, I think, where we do this. But apart from that, we've covered now lead generation, and like that's the thing. And what I'm hearing from you, don't do this in the very early stage. I think that's where the discrepancy also was, right? Because a lot of people who come to us come from literally nothing as well in the beginning.
I mean, if you have disposable income, you can do it. But you gotta have disposable income.
Exactly. So if you don't mind to burn money in the beginning, you can absolutely do this.
And you can do it quicker. You can arrive at the results quicker. Like if you exited a corporate job and they paid you a good
severance package,
service packaging. Sorry, my word was not getting that. I wasn't remembering the word. But yeah, if they paid you good service packaging and actually you've got a lot of disposable income, like you could buy 2 apartments or a car, throw so many ads, it might make sense. But you got to make sure that you are doing ads right. That's a whole other conversation. But
okay, so I think
throw money in ads, it makes sense. Now, just to finish off on what you're saying about the 21 days, once again, no, because I want to also do it as a disclaimer, because I was talking about selling for 21 days straight doesn't make sense. But what you told me right now in terms of a structure is not necessarily just selling. So I'm not talking about your exact methodology, because I can't talk about something that I don't know. I don't know what the exact structure is.
Yeah,
I'm just talking.
So I just wanted to clarify.
I'm just saying, like, if you are selling for 21 days straight, and that's the only thing you're doing, it might not be the best strategy, or I would do it differently. And you can do it, but I think you can start by building branding immediately and selling also at the same time, and especially at the beginning selling more, but then you can test other ways.
Absolutely.
And for example, Insta Stories, you get in front of most of your audience, so you can sell all the time on Insta Stories at the beginning and provide value through posts. So there are other ways that you can do it. There are structures that make sense. I don't know the exact structure you have, so I'm not going to comment on it. But yeah.
No, it's just, I think, like just using the logic that's like 3% of people like in your audience are ready to buy right now, right? So why not kind of validating the fact that people can become paying customers for you right in the beginning, and just capturing this like 3% who are ready to buy right now, and then you move into nurturing the other percentages in your audience, like versus building via building a personal brand, right, and giving a lot of value and everything. But it's just like this first push, kind of like. And it doesn't mean that selling can't be valuable, because like I definitely believe that selling like by itself can provide a lot of value to people, right?
Sure.
And you can share a lot of like experiences, and you can educate people, and you can teach them, and you can give them like a lot of value with that. But it doesn't mean that you can't make an offer at the back of it like every single time and provide a like kind of call to action.
So we're going to move on to the next topic, but to sum this up, it's essentially if you are really getting started now, you have no paying clients, or you have one, you can sell more. And you can do it in the way that the outcome is selling. The outcome is you got to have a client. You got to make some money. Okay, so if that's the outcome, throw your offer out there. If your outcome is growing an audience, so you have such a large pool of people and you can make more money off of them in the mid to long term, then you should do valuable content.
Yes.
Because that's how you grow an audience. But if your objective at the beginning is getting some sales, then sell. If it is building an audience so that you can sell a lot more in the future, then build an audience.
Yes.
So it's pretty much it. It's just 2 different stages.
Awesome. Okay, so having wrapped up, some of the use cases, like what, we can build audience, you can build a brand through this, and we'll talk a little bit about like the creative of what that means creatively and like system-wise later. And to get leads and validate an offer, you can do this even at a very early stage, just as long as you have some money disposable. And ideally, the most natural stage would be you are already making money, it's going, and now you can really start using ads to blow up, make something much bigger, and in a much more efficient way, using what you have already and bringing this to more people. So with that, the next topic was kind of like, okay, imagine now I see myself in one of these use cases. I'm just starting out, for example, and I have money to spend, it's okay, or I'm already getting customers, but it's not enough, I want to get more, and I don't have so much time, I want to learn ads, I think this is the right thing for me to do. like, what do I technically, like, what's the infrastructure I need to put in place if I don't have a maybe team yet, if I'm a solopreneur at this stage, like what is the first stage of putting an infrastructure? I know, we spent time together, like, setting up our ad account, which was like horrifying because I started doing it myself and I fucked it all up. I fucked it all up. I screwed it all up.
Some ASMR. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is something that you need to do properly. Don't do it alone. Like, ask someone who knows this shit to help you, because it takes a lot more time to unwind it afterwards. But like otherwise, technically, like if I just have my ads account, it's still not like you usually need. There's funnels that go behind. An ad is not just an ad, but then there's something that always happens afterwards, right? You don't just want people to see something, but you want them to do something. So you need a CRM system. You need, like, is there any, like, what is an ideal technical or a minimum technical setup and processes that you need to have in place at the back to be able to activate ads properly? In short.
So you touched on a lot of topics, and now I need to kind of break them down because there are a lot of things that we need to talk about here.
Hit me.
First one is most people lose a lot of money doing leads because they don't have a great follow-up system to engage those leads and convert them into paying customers. And you can have all the leads in the world. If you don't know how to take a lead from a lead to a customer, then you're losing money. Even if you have 1 million leads. If you don't know how to pick 1 million leads and turn it into money.
Or 100 million leads.
You are just losing money. And then the second thing that we need to talk about is actually what makes the difference on the ad and how do you set up the ads. So I think what makes sense is to first start about how to set up the ads and what makes the most impact on an ad, and then go into the systems that you need to have in place to be able to make those ads worthwhile. That sounds good?
Yes, but it both kind of needs to happen prior, right? Because like if I'm activating ads now, because I'm starting with that and I don't have any follow-up mechanism, the data doesn't flow anywhere. I'm just checking my ad account if I got, a lead or something. Like, that's a very manual process. So there needs to be you need to have a CRM system of some sorts in place where you capture the data, where you have some sort of like follow-up mechanisms
for sure.
that you can activate, right?
And I'm going to talk about those. But before talking about the system, I think if you have bad ads, you can have the best system in the world. It's not going to work anyways. So let's first focus on the ad part and then go there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So my next point overall section would have been like how to choose my ad content type and what makes up a good ad.
So let's
creative.
start with that, and then let's go to the
Perfect.
follow-up system.
Yeah. Let's restructure my
I'm
structure.
restructuring
He's
structure.
German.
You're just like, I'm internally like, no, actually, it's totally fine. We have this all the time because I'm doing podcasts with her, and it always changes the structure.
All right, perfect. So a last minute change. So what moves the needle on your ads? People overcomplicate what advertising is, and I can really sum it up for you in 3 words. So not 3 words, actually, that was a bit over-promising, but I can sum it up.
I am Bruno.
I can sum it up a lot. So the idea is an ad is you put something out there into the world, in this case, videos, images, text, whatever. You put something out to the world, and then Facebook, Google, TikTok, whatever platform you use, gives you back data on what you put out into the world. And you look at that data, and then you see what the data is telling you, and you look at the variables that you control that will make an impact on the numbers. That's pretty much advertising in a nutshell. That's cold email in a nutshell. That's whatever marketing system in a nutshell. You put stuff out there, it comes back with data. You look at the data, you look at the variables that you can change to improve that data, and you test new variables, and you test new ideas, you test new offers, you test new strategies, and that will change the data over time. So you just gotta look at the data, understand it, and then work with what you have. And usually people like to really complicate this process and be too technical about it, but it's just as simple as this. You get data, you look at the data, you look at the variables that you control to change the data, and then you go based off of that.
I love that you say this because it's like really this experimentation mindset, right? We always talk about experimentation in the beginning, and ads are like the ultimate thing that gives you the data in your face of whether or not something that you do is working or not working, and you can actually be extremely experimental.
And it doesn't give you only a lot of data, it gives you very valuable data that other systems don't give you. And
how?
The best way to look at it is the companies that make the most amount of money are the companies that fail faster and fail the quickest, and they learn from that and they implement changes to not fail again. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a great tennis player, and I keep going back to tennis, but if you want to be a great tennis player, you're gonna suck for a long time. I've been playing for a year and I suck. So you're gonna suck for a long time. You're gonna fail a lot. If you want to do whatever you want in life, you're gonna really fuck up a bunch of times until you understand. It's the same thing with marketing. And the faster you fail, the better. Great companies are not afraid of failing a lot because that's how they grow their business. Like Google changed a specific color on the button they had. I might not saying this exactly, but like the case study was they changed the color on the part of a button and they tried out 140 different colors to see which one converts the best. So if you think about it, they failed 139 times until they understood the best one. That's another way to look at it. So they had to fail 139 times to have the best outcome possible that generates the highest conversion rate. So you got to fail a lot to then be able to understand how you can improve results.
I really like... I want so much like attention to these words because I think like a lot of times, and especially like, I don't know, maybe it's the type of customers that's like tend to come to us, right? Because we work with like lifestyle entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, right? It's coaches, it's yoga teachers, it's creatives. A lot of times in their brain, like their worth as a human is like very much intertwined with like any business results they're getting, right? So like what you are talking about is basically removing any emotion out of it and just looking at it. It's like, okay, you experiment, you get the data in, based on the data, you change something in the process, right? You get a different outcome. But people don't tend to look at it this way, you know, like they tend to look at it as like, oh my God, like if I'm gonna trial for like 139 times and I'm gonna fail every time, it's like, you know, it's like, it's a hit to like, to personal worth, more or less. You know, it's like, oh, I failed as an entrepreneur. I failed as a business owner. I failed as a coach, you know, like I'm worthless. And it's like this kind of like judgment, like mixes in the way and it's like prevents people from going further or for experimenting further, you know, until they figure it out.
And becoming awesome, actually, and confident, which I wanted to also mention, like you only play tennis for 1 year. For that, you're extremely good. Like it's crazy that in 1 year, you know, because you have a dedication, you just every week you do practice, you show up, and it's the same for business, right? And then you are much quicker at a stage where you're like, I'm actually good, and you pass that stage. But if you just do it half-assed, a little bit, you'll suck for a long time, and you'll have to fight that mental battle that Olga just mentioned, like for much longer, actually.
That's actually true. I play for 8 to 9 months, and my coach, it's not really near, but my coach tells me that it's one of the biggest evolutions he has seen. And it's not because I'm particularly better. I actually have a lot of issues like with coordination and stuff walking, so I'm bound to be worse than other people. But I play 4 times a week. I have 1 coaching lesson a week. Sometimes I go and I play 5 times a week. I play with this guy that kicks my ass. I play with people that play... I play with people that play way better than me, so they are greater at their game than I am, and I learn from them. And it's the same thing with business, and especially with marketing. You want to test different theses. And you mentioned something very important, which is people being emotional. In advertising, there shouldn't be any emotions. That could be true a couple of years ago where you had TV, you don't have really a lot of metrics, so you got to test, and I feel like this is going to work best. At this stage, the ad platform, whatever channel you use, it's going to tell you what works best. So it's not up to you, to your feeling that something is going to work best. So usually what I actually do is we just test a lot of different ads at the beginning, a lot of different scripts, a lot of different videos, a lot of different images. And I test stuff that I know out of like doing this for like almost 10 years. I know actually what can potentially convert better, but I also test stuff that I might have a personal bias against. So I think this one is not going to convert as well, but I still test it because who am I to say it? You just test it. And digital marketing is just about testing, failing, and changing based on what the data gives you. And then you can apply that to your life as well. So.
Thank you for saying this because I think like it's also to the point, it's like you don't need to sit on creating a perfect ad, you know, because like there is no perfect ad. There is just like something which is good enough and you need to test like which format works the best or which creative works the best, right? Because I think this is also the tendency from so many people. It's like, oh, no, I have to get this thing perfect before I can put it out there.
There's actually people making a lot of money with very ugly ads. It's crazy. It's like a black background with red text on top of it, and it does millions in revenue. So what I have to say now, going back to the topic, which is what really moves the needle on ads, we are going back into, before iOS 14, if you don't know what it is, I'm just going to sum it up. It's essentially allow people to stop being tracked outside of Facebook because of privacy laws in Europe, etc., GDPR. And not only iOS 14, but platforms have been having a harder time tracking their users because of privacy laws overall everywhere, especially in Europe, but then going broad as well into the entire world. And that removed a lot of data points that we would be able to get and a lot of metrics that they could track that they can't track anymore. So based on this, before it was actually ridiculously easy to make money online. You put up an ad, you almost have to do nothing, and you make a lot of money. Like Hormozy, when he started Gym Lounge, I think that's the name of the company. I'm awful of remembering names, but he started like a plug and play system for gyms. You could literally put a super fat dude and then a guy with a ripped six pack and be like before and after. Today you can't do that kind of stuff, and you don't have as many data. Like Facebook can track the customer as well as it could before, so it makes it harder to advertise. But to me, it makes it more exciting because it is my industry, but it goes back into the early fundamentals of advertising, which is advertising is about you engaging with someone that might want to buy from you and make them interested in actually purchasing. And how are you able to do that? Through images, through videos, and through copywriting. Images and videos, we call that ad creatives. So every time I'm referring to ad creatives, I'm referring to the images and videos that are on the ads. And when I refer to copywriting, I'm talking about the text. If you're a real beginner now, you know what that means. So
what makes a good creative or copy?
So, okay, starting off with copy, actually, copy is very important, but I know a lot of people that make a lot of copy and use tools that help them. So essentially what you want to do in an offer is you want to entice the customer to want to know more and to want to speak with you potentially if you are doing lead gen and you got to speak with them on your sales process, or to want to buy your product if you're selling products. So having a very clear offer, communicating that offer clearly, making them excited to buy, and really having a very good hook. Hooks are super important, whether it's a video ad or copywriting. A hook is essentially the first 3 to 5 seconds of a video or the first words on a text. You want to make them really, really interested. And you can do that through a lot of ways. Humor in the video, you can have a meme, you can have someone giving like a very big and bold statement on their offer, just essentially grabbing the attention of the person so they stay on the ad. And then you want to provide more context and get them interested in actually going and checking out what you're trying to sell. And image ads, it's the same thing. It should have a clear value and they should be able to clearly understand the offer. And then the offer needs to be good. If the offer is bad, nothing that I just mentioned is going to fix it for you.
Is the image then rather the hook itself is the image and then the copy underneath will explain the offer? Or would you recommend like the image should do both actually? It should be, you know, the hook and it should also explain the offer already in itself?
Copy is very important, but the ad creatives are more important than the copy. And people should understand what you're selling and the value that it provides by the image or video that you have on the ads. For example, if I wanted to sell people on booking appointments and lead generation, I could just use a black background with like a warning sign and be like, get 100 appointments right now or you don't pay. It's a very bold statement. It's a very good offer. Why wouldn't someone do it? So they are more likely to do it. But you don't have to have that kind of offer. Also, you can have other offers. But that's a great way to grab attention and people clearly understand what it is. And then the copywriting provides more context and has that hook still in it. So that's a little bit about how that could potentially work.
Okay, so essentially the creative, be it the video or the image, is the most important and that should do the whole thing basically. And then the copy just adds a bit more detail.
The copy is still super important, don't get me wrong. But for example, in e-commerce, we can just have a photo of the product itself and actually the copy becomes even more important. So it really depends. But overall, copy, video, and image are the biggest changers for your ads. And the copy is important, super important, but the ad creatives in the video are usually more important than the copy. And now another thing that I need to speak about is audience, because that's the other metric that you need to track. Essentially, you need to track 3 different metrics when it comes to ads, actually 4. The first one is the audience. The second one is the ad creative, being that video or image. The third one is copy. And the fourth one is the process after the ad. So are they going to a page where they can buy your product? If so, is the page well optimized? What can you do to optimize the page and to have a higher conversion rate? Are they going through specific lead system that you created to follow up with them? Yes. Is that lead system good? And these are the variables that you control. You can change the lead system. You can, for example, instead of contacting them on WhatsApp, you can contact them on email or vice versa, depending on where they reply most. You can change the videos to make them more interesting for the audience. You can change the targeting, and you can also change the copywriting. So these are the 4 variables that you need to consider when you have an ad. And for example, if you have an e-commerce product and you have a very good ad, but the page is awful, increasing 0.5% of conversion rate or 1% can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So all of those are important in each sector. But this is maybe complicating a bit for people that never started. So making it more simple. On the audience, at the very first beginning, you really want to be more broad. The reason why is because being more specific, you are removing potential customers that are in a broader audience. So you want to be more broad, and especially because Facebook is more intelligent than me and than you. So they are going to be able, with their own metrics, to understand the data. And based on that, they will be able to show the ad to whoever is more likely to purchase when you do a broader audience. And when you start to get to understand your audience better, you can do more specific targeting, or you can test both at the beginning, a broader audience and a specific target. That's usually what I do, actually. But broader usually works best for people that are starting out in ads, so Facebook can have more data and perfect the audience over time. Then after the audience, it goes down to images and video. You want to create a very high converting script, and there's a lot of ways that you can create a high converting script. I could talk about that for like an hour, but you want to have a very great hook that's super important. Then you want to let you know your audience exactly how they can get value out of you. You want to show social proof, for example, and then have a clear call to action. So, hey, I'm Bruno, this is what I have done. Get your first 10 appointments in one day. And then here is, this person has been able to do this with their business via our service. And then call to action, book a call with me now so you can learn more. I actually saw a company that imports cars from Germany to Portugal. This is a great example, actually, because their ad creative, you can talk about the fact that, oh, look, I'm going to import the entire car for you, and you have to do nothing. That's a good offer. But their offer is better. They showed specific cars, they showed the price in Portugal, and they show how much that person paid for that specific car by working with them, like how much the person saved, even after paying their service, because cars are cheaper in Germany. So they wanted to highlight the fact that they will not only help you legalize the car in Portugal and like make sure that it's ready to go, they will make sure that you spend less money than if you bought it here, and you can get a better model.
Oh, can you give us contact?
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, we need to speak to these people.
That's how great of an offer it is.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same offer of every other company that does this, but they don't explain it that way. They do it, oh, you need to like go and register the car and do this, and we'll take care of that for you. We will go to the country and we will pick it up for you. It's a great offer, don't get me wrong, because you don't want to have the hustle of having to do that. But if you tell them, look, I'm going to save you a lot of money, get you the car that you want 100%, make sure that it's good to go, and I'm also going to go to that country, pick it up, and give you the keys. Essentially, you tell me which car you want, I will get it way cheaper for you, the best quality ever, exact all the specifics that you want, and I'll go to Lisbon or to Portugal, whatever, give you the key, and you're good to go, and everything is taken care of. It's a very good offer. Why would you do it? So once again, it goes back to the offer and the way that you explain it and the way that you package it.
Okay, awesome. So we talked a little bit about video here. We didn't talk much about image creative, how to like, what are some do's and don'ts maybe, but I don't know if it would maybe take too much time to dive into this.
Quick 2-minute approach. So on image creatives, you really want to showcase the value. So for example, like I said, having a image that says get 5 clients now, whatever, showcasing, for example, I saw a guy that actually does ads for appointments, and he just showed his calendars full of appointments. And then the copy was like, do you currently have a calendar that looks like this? If not, do you really have a business, or are you just trying to get appointments day in, day out and having no success at it? So this is good because it's relatable, because the person wants to have that outcome and the person sees that outcome immediately. And then you're also calling them out. You're like, is this how your business looks like? If not, do you actually have a business? So you almost poke them, and they're like,
triggering them.
Are you joking with me? And he's like, but I can do that for you. So come and check it out. So there are a lot of ways that you can invoke emotions and still make people want to speak with you via image ads. For example, for a beauty product, it's kind of easier to understand. you show someone that has a specific health issue, and then you show how they can potentially look like with that product. It's a very good value proposition. People understand it immediately, and they will buy the product.
So basically understanding, your audience's key wishes and desires and results that they seek in the space of wherever you're offering services in, and then putting that into an image.
Being able to communicate with an image, that with just an image. So the guy did it perfectly. He showcased a very full calendar of booked appointments, and he had like a headline saying something like, "This is how my calendar looks like. What does yours look like?" So stuff like that.
Cool. Okay, so that's the two minute approach on image. So of course we can go much deeper into all of this, but this should give me now a good idea. Okay, my image, my how to build this, my video. Do the hook, do some social proof, show your clear value proposition, have a call to action. Copy we talked about a little bit.
We also talked about the targeting. So
the targeting we talked about. So now you have kind of the ads set up, let's say, and now the other part that we were going to talk about in this new structure is the follow-up process, and what you need to have in place for that. You already mentioned landing pages, so I need to have a tool that builds landing pages, maybe something to A/B test different landing pages. What do I need to put in place technically, and what are some most common follow-up methodologies that, like, if someone just starting out, these are the 2-3 ways you could start testing on your business?
I'm going to tell you how you set that up, and then I'm going to give you specific examples of specific business and tell you why they should set it up that way.
Amazing.
And then you can look at your own business and understand the nuances of your business and apply it to your business. So let's say you have e-commerce. You really want to have an optimized Shopify store or whatever the technology that you use. You want to make sure that you showcase reviews, that you showcase the persons that actually bought the product. You want to make sure that you have a clear hook and a clear way of showcasing the products, reviews, social proof. So essentially you want to have a high converting store, and there's a lot that goes into it. I could talk about it for ages, but you want to have a high converting store. If you sell an info product, you want to have a high converting sales funnel. Same thing applies. If you sell services, you want to have a follow-up system that makes sense for your specific industry. For example, let's talk about Botox a little.
Finally.
I think you could clip that. But Botox in like aesthetic clinics, like beauty salons, stuff like that. Usually their clients probably communicate with them via DMs or via WhatsApp. So what they would do is they would set up an instant form on Instagram, for example, and they would be able to collect that customer data. And that's important because after you have the customer data, you can market to them ongoing forever for dirt cheap, because you can use email marketing, which is super cheap. But at the beginning, you entice them and you get their data, and then you have a follow-up system that immediately triggers a message on WhatsApp, for example. So let's say Olga wanted to do some Botox, not saying it's the case. You don't need it, by the way. No, actually, Carson.
I need it, yeah, sure. Let's just go with that example.
Whatever. But let's say you wanted to do a surgery, whatever, like a rhinoplasty, whatever, and you message, you signed up for it, you gave your name, your email, and your last name and your phone number, and that would then come into a software that would immediately trigger a sequence and be like, "Hi Carson, I saw that you are currently interested in getting Botox because maybe you need this done. We're here to help you through the process. Let us know how we can help you." And then you have a person responsible to actually engaging with that person and make sure that they book an appointment at that set clinic. If you have a business, you might want to do booked appointments, so you might get their data and then send them to a calendar where they can book an appointment. And if they don't book it, you still have that data to be able to market to them via email and do a nurture sequence so they go and book an appointment. There are a lot of other ways to do it. There's like no really right or wrong way. You can have a VSL, which is a video sales letter, on a sales page, and you send people there and they need to watch the video, and then they will book in an appointment. Usually you'll get less appointments because they need to watch the video and see the sales page, but usually they are way more qualified. So that's essentially, when it comes down to the system, you want to build for leads specifically, now focusing on that, a follow-up system. I recommend that you use tools such as ManyChat, which allows you to get the information and DM people on Instagram, on WhatsApp, and via SMS, etc. Or Go High Level or ClickFunnels. Actually, ClickFunnels doesn't do this, I think. I haven't used that in a while. I use primarily Go High Level, but Go High Level will be able to follow up with them on WhatsApp, on email, and you'll be able to set up all of your automatic responses, and it also has a CRM, which is important, so you know what's going on with your leads. And you can also use HubSpot, other CRMs. There are a lot of tools that you can use, but essentially the premise is you need to be able to get the data from the lead and then be able to immediately get in touch with them. And you want to do it immediately, and you want to make sure that you are on top of your game so that you can actually convert them. You're not going to get leads and then call them 7 days later and see what's going on. No, you need to have a system that immediately engages with them and makes them want to book the appointment, makes them want to buy from you, makes them want to do the desired outcome that you want out of that ad. And then you still collect their data so that you can market to them over time in case they don't convert. They might not convert today, they might convert in a year from now.
So technically what I'm hearing is to have some place where the data will flow. So you have a CRM database that is growing through the ads, but then also to have whatever software tool that is out there that can automatically be triggered by this Facebook ad to follow up with them in one way or the other as well. So you need to have these two components set up, and then you're kind of ready to go system-wise, and then you need to test and see what approach works within that.
Exactly. That's a good way to do it. Another way that you could do it is, for example, you can get the data and you get their phone number and you immediately call them. If it's going to convert better than the other one, I have no clue, guy. Test it. That's what I told you before. Test both. I have no personal bias towards any strategy. I have a personal bias towards what makes me money, so I can try every strategy under the sun and see which one makes me the most money, because that's what matters, revenue and closing. So if your leads reply better once you call them immediately, just do that. If your leads reply better with an automatic system on WhatsApp or Instagram, just do that. Once again, test and then do what your lead prefers. Not what you prefer that? Or not what you think they are going to prefer. What they actually prefer. Test it, see what they prefer, do it that way. It will make you more money. And don't be the type of person that is like, oh, I think they will reply better to a voice message. Or, oh, I think they will reply better to a phone call. Or, oh, I think email is best. I don't care what you think. Test it.
And thank you again, for saying this, because a lot of times that's it's precisely what we see with majority of people who come to work with us. It's I think that's this gonna work. Who the fuck cares, right? As you said, your potential customer defines what it's gonna look like.
And I think
and you can test it, so just test it.
Exactly.
Preconceived notions are what usually kills businesses. It's you have a preconceived notion that this is going to work, so that's what I'm going to do, and this is what I have always done, so I'm going to keep on doing it. Who gives a shit? Test it. Test multiple things, see what's going to work, and then you can speak on it until you have tested everything. I know someone personally that was doing, 5K a month. It is now doing 30K a month. And you ask me, what did he do? He made it unreasonable not to succeed. And how he did that? He did ads, he did cold email, he did cold calling, he did messages, he did ads with a cold call after, in this case, warm call because they know you. He did ads with a follow-up system that's automatic. He did ads that send people to a VSL page. He did all types of shit. He made it work. Why? Because he tested all of this. Most people are unwilling to do it, and then they want to have results, and then they complain into the role they were not able to get the desired outcome. Usually they just didn't work enough, they didn't test enough, and they just gotta do more and do more tests and test different things, and eventually something will work. If you do all of that, it's almost impossible for you not to make it in business. You just gotta be willing to do it, and most people aren't, and most people still rely on their preconceived notions for business, which is the biggest mistake you can have.
Love it. Thank you.
So this is a perfect segue actually into the next section, because you're talking about experimenting. In the next section, I wanted to talk about how to structure a first experiment, but I also wanted to highlight something you said, because you highlighted the experimentation mindset, right? Which is I think versus, what's the data. But then there's also the thing that you said, which I loved, I don't care. I just do the thing that makes me more money. And a lot of people that come to us, they come from oftentimes from corporate careers where they are pressed for bigger results for shareholders, and they have this association in their head of money bad. And also in general in society, we are taught, millionaires, whatever, arrogant, or, this is a preconception that is an image that's being built. And I just want to counter that image, and I want to highlight what you said. And the thought can be, the more money I have, if I think I'm doing something good in the world, the more money I have available, the more good I can do in the world. The less money I have available, the less good I can do. So get the fucking shitload of money and do good in the world, right?
So money is just, money has no value whatsoever. Money is just energy.
Boom.
Money just allows you to do more of what you want to do and allows you to do it at a greater scale. whatever it is that you want to do. And then I've met amazing people with a lot of money. I've met stupid people with a lot of money. And people have this preconceived notion that people that have money are bad. I think people that are bad are bad.
Exactly. If you were an asshole before, you know, like money just gonna amplify this, you know.
Yeah, and if you're a great guy,
that's so wrong.
and if you are a great guy, it will usually give you the resources you need to do better good. So it's like money is just an amplifier most of the time. But going back to what you said about the experimentation and not caring about anything and just looking at the results, like that's what all companies should do. And then when you talk about being from the corporate world and shareholders and stuff, that's a different breed, because some companies don't work to make more money. They work to have a higher valuation on the stock market, which is another thing.
Also.
Like, do you actually think that Amazon is worth as much money as it's worth? Do you actually think Jeff Bezos has it under his pocket? No, that's just a number on the stock exchange. Is super speculative. Is it actually worth that? I don't know. Is Tesla worth the amount of money the stock market says it's worth? I don't know. But then there are companies that work just to get a higher stock market valuation, so they can sell, they can make an exit, they can have more resources available to them. But what we are talking about is actual companies that want to make money, want to make a profit. So if you want to make money and you want to make a profit, I will just challenge your audience with something. You run an ad, and then you need to call the leads, and that's going to give you 50% more money. Are you going to message them? No, you're going to call them, right? Or maybe you're going to message them because you think it's better and you will have less results. Or let's flip it around. Messaging them is the best. It gives you 50% more results. Why the fuck are you going to call them? I have no idea. It's just pointless. So test both, see which one is better, and then go with the flow and go with what your customer prefers. And I don't know, I can't tell you what your customer prefers because every business is different.
So let's take paid ads, right? Because it's like such an easy testing ground, because you're talking about testing, experimenting, but I'm just starting out with ads. I'm like doing this for the first time now. Like, how would you, what mindset should I, because I can run 1 million experiments, which cost me €1 million in the end of the day. So where do I put my focus for my first experiments, and how do I structure even just one experiment? Like, how do I think about structuring them? Like, is it a certain, I always do sprints with certain amount of days or certain amount of spend or certain, like, what, how do I approach, running experiments actually?
And then maybe also like, like a follow-up question afterwards, like, I don't know, how to look at the data after, you know, like how do you analyze the data?
All right, that's a great question. And that's also a great question.
Thank you. I was already scared. It was just her question. That was great.
So how to set up like an experiment. So for example, let's assume you're doing lead gen. That's what you want to talk about, I assume. So if you're doing lead gen, once again, you have those 4 variables that you control, which are the ad creative, the ad copy, the follow-up system,
and the audience.
And the audience, exactly. You learn fast. All right. So those are the variables that you have. And on leads, there is 2 important things. One of them is how many leads are you getting, and then how many leads are converting into customers or into your desired action. Because you might not want to get a customer immediately. You might want to get them on the phone. And then you also need to consider the close process, like the sales process, as a variable of success, because you might be bad at sales or you might not have the right system. And then even if you get a lot of leads and they're super qualified, you're still going to sell less than your competitor, because then you need to improve your sales process. So that's another variable. So at the beginning, when you want to run ads, you want to first optimize to get the most amount of qualified leads possible, and also have a great follow-up system. So what I would personally do is I would test an ad with multiple different ad creatives and multiple different offers and different scripts. I would put that out there, see which script is providing me the better results, which video is converting more, deactivate the ones that are not converting the best, leave the ones that is converting the best, because that's what you want, and then look at the leads that you're getting, seeing if they are qualified, and then experimenting with audience and etc. to be able to get a better result.
So that speaks to like the general logic of how this goes. But then if I talk super practical, like if I'm like now like, okay, I'm going to do this. I have all my systems set up. Like how many creatives should I prepare? How many follow-up systems should I have ready? Which ones to choose? Like, should I have video, image, or only video? And do I test all variables at the same time? Or do I start testing only the first variable, which is like does anybody even get attention from it? And only when I fix that, I move to the second variable, which is like my call to action, maybe to get them on a call or whatever. you know, like I'm just like, how do I think about like where do I start? Because like you can do a million things.
Decomplicate. Let's decomplicate what you put out there. Okay, so you are really starting out. Okay, record 3 or 4 videos. Usually, video ads can perform better than image ads, but that's not always true. Like I've said, I've seen some very basic image ads do very well. So let's say prepare 8 ads in total: 4 video, 4 images, and make sure that you really clearly explain the offer and give value to your customer. The video, create the script, record it, and then get it edited with some subtitles. Maybe you can go overboard into some animations, and you can test actually more simple, more edited, see what works. But let's say you just start with four videos. You put those 4 videos out there, you spend $50 a day, and Facebook is going to allocate that budget towards those 4 videos individually based on what's performing best. After 3 or 4 days, you have maybe enough data that you can see, okay, this video got me way more leads than the others. Disable the others, and immediately go back to the drawing board and create more videos, because you always need to be creating more creatives that actually work for your business, so you're not dependent on one creative that's performing.
How many do I start with, and how many do I create?
Yeah, 4.
And then each week I create like how many more? Like
really depends. I like to continuously create more creatives, and what I'll say is you look at the creative that's converting more and you try to dissect why it's converting more. Is it the hook? Is the hook where they get the most attention? So then let's do a hook that's similar to this but change it up a bit. And you always try to look at the data and see why it's converting best. And then you start with those 4 ad creatives, which are video. You can also have a couple of images in there and see where the budget is being spent the best, meaning which one is spending which one has the lowest cost per lead, is the lead qualified, etc. You look at those variables. Then after doing that, you move into the process of the follow-up. So you see, okay, this ad is performing well, it's getting me this amount of leads, but the leads are not really responding to my follow-up. The ones that don't book there are some that book an appointment. Those are handled. They are actually showing up. But the ones that don't book an appointment don't actually reply to my email follow-ups. So I can't really get them to speak with me. Okay, change the copy of the email to a new email copy, or change it from email to WhatsApp. Maybe they reply faster on WhatsApp, or change it to Instagram. So just test each variable at a time. And I would say the most important thing at the beginning is being able to have a good ad creative that really engages with people, because that can really make or break an ad. You change an ad creative, it can make you 5 times more money if the ad creative is better. And then the follow-up system is super important, because you don't want to have a bunch of contacts that don't really speak with you.
So what I'm hearing is first the ad creative, first get them into your world, and then, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because if you're just optimizing part 2, but nobody ever comes into part 2, you know, like what are you going to optimize? And so start with the ad, start with the upfront thing to get people into your funnel. And then afterwards, as you do that, start also optimizing the back end of that.
Yes.
Okay.
And the first thing is, the final thing in this equation is understand economics, because most people don't know what they're doing when it comes to ads. I don't care if I pay 1,000 euros to acquire a customer that's going to pay me 2.5K. If my profit margin is X and I can make a profit with that, I don't care. And let's say that it is a monthly service. Even if I spend 2.5K on the first month, I'm paying to acquire that customer, and then I have some expenses, so I'm actually losing money. On the second month, I'm making money. So you really got to look at the lifetime value of the customer cycle as well, usually how long the client stays with you, and you got to understand how much you can pay to actually acquire a customer. And that's another data that you have to look at. So let's say you just closed your first client from ads. First of all, congratulations. Then secondly, look at how many leads it took you to close a client. Let's say it was 100 and you paid 5 euros per lead. By the way, these are made up numbers. You can have way better or way worse results. So I paid 5 euros per lead. I spent 500 euros and I closed one client that's paying me 1,000, and it's actually just consulting. So it's 100% profit. So I made 500 euros. Okay. So now you know on average that it takes you 500 euros to acquire one customer. So you increase the budget so you can acquire more customers, because it's on average going to take you 500 euros. And I'll work to decrease the cost so that you can make more money. But you got to look at all of these variables, understand them clearly, and then make your decisions based on that. Because most people don't even know if ads are profitable, because they might immediately lose you money, but make you a lot of money in the long term. So you got to really know your numbers and understand your acquisition game. There are people like, this is Armozi. There's another person named Sabi Suri. He sells a book called Sell Like Crazy, and he gives you the book for free and you just pay for postage. And then you're like, all right, so this guy's losing money. No, he's paying to bring you into his world, and he's going to make a shit ton of money with you on lifetime value. So that's another strategy. I just give you a book. I spend 20 euros producing it. You pay the postage, so I don't lose money there, but I'm losing 20 euros immediately on how much it took me to produce the book. But you're going to stick with me for a long time because I gave you a good ass book with a lot of information. So on a long enough time frame, I'm going to get way more money from you than what I had to pay to acquire you as a customer.
Okay, then I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
When do you know, or at what point do you decide that's like, I don't know, you're just losing money on ads? You know, that's like, how do you determine this? Like, how long, I don't know, do you need to experiment to understand, like, okay, you know, like maybe in the first months I lost, maybe in the second months I lost. Like, when do I know, like, okay, like this is not working out for me?
Or does it always work based on experimenting well?
I think if you experiment enough and you do enough ad creatives, like even if it takes you 100 ad creatives, that's just an exaggeration, but an example. And even if it takes you 50 different copies, offers are a huge part of this. But if you test all of that, I think you can make ads work for almost any kind of business. So when do you decide to stop? Maybe if you really have bad results for a very long enough time frame, maybe you might need...
What's long enough time frame?
It depends also on how much money you have available. It depends on a lot of variables, but you might come to the understanding that you're not good at running ads or that you have not experimented enough. And maybe like the first thing I would say actually is get someone to help you, not necessarily running the ads. At the beginning, you might not have enough money available to hire an agency, for example, but work with someone that can teach you and guide you and mentorship you on that equation so you are more likely to succeed. Like go to someone that you know that it's good for ads, pay them what they ask to be able to get taught by them. But when do you decide to stop? I mean, I think it really depends on a lot of variables. That's actually a question, a very good question, but one that I'm having a hard time answering. Because I think that you can make it work at the end of the day if you test enough and if you do enough offers. I think you can make ads work for almost every business. For example, e-commerce, you might not be able to make it work. And then you just have to come to terms with the fact that the offer is not good. The offer, in this case, a product.
So it's
you
kind
have
of like
to do another product.
That's interesting to hear, right? Because like this is actually not the problem of the ad, right? But because a lot of times, like
It's a product.
Yeah, it's the
There's no
problem
product
with the
market fit.
offer, with the product, or maybe like it's also your selling, you know, because like maybe the leads are coming, you're just not able to close them because you just suck at having sales calls.
I'll give you 2 examples. So there's like e-commerce brands that we work with, and the ads perform amazingly well, and we almost do no work, and we get very well paid. And I shouldn't say this probably, but the reason why is because that product is amazing and it's super easy to sell, and the ads go amazingly well. There are other brands which we try very hard, and it's way harder to sell that product because the product doesn't have a good market fit and people are not as interested in buying it. So sometimes you try for a lot of time and you realize, okay, this product is not a great vehicle to make money. So you might need to stop, rethink the product. In the service-based...
I just want to super highlight this because this is like using ads at the validation stage as well, right? When you're just testing an offer, and the goal is not necessarily only to make it profitable and make profit, but just to see, do people even want this? Like, do I get a sense from exposing it to lots of people that my offer is actually really wanted? Or is it so difficult to sell that maybe I should go back to the drawing board and talk to people again? Like, hey, why the fuck do you not want this product? Like, what's wrong with it? Like, what would make you want it? Is
go
it
back
the pricing?
to the development
Is it
stage.
Yes,
exactly. Go like iterate the product in another circle.
E-commerce is far more complicated. That's why dropshippers sometimes test like 10 different products at once. But e-commerce is more complicated because you actually gotta develop the product. So you gotta probably do a PO, a purchase order of set amount of product. And if people don't buy it, you actually lose a shit ton of money. But service-based businesses is far more simple because you can just change the offer or package it differently. So it's way easier to test and go to market and just test a bunch of different things and see which one resonates the most. And also something that I will say is the lead generation space is incredibly boring. Like people don't spend enough time creating actually good ads and doing video. Like you would be surprised about the amount of bad ads that are out there in lead generation. In e-commerce, people actually do a super good effort of creating good ad creatives. In lead generation, it's kind of lazy. It's a lazy industry. So you can really get ahead by spending a lot of time on creating ad creatives and good offers. And you just test multiple offers. E-commerce is harder because your product is going to burn you money if it doesn't work out. So you might as well just leave it at that and create a new product. But for service-based businesses, that's actually something good, which is you can just package it differently, create a new offer, and go to market and try again. So really depends when you should stop the ads. Maybe you should try another offer. You should try another niche. I think you can always make it work. E-commerce is different. Sometimes the product is just not selling at all. People don't want it, and you might have to come to terms with the fact that you created a product that the marketplace does not want. So
that's why, prototype, MVP, test stuff.
And by the way,
cheap, dirty.
something for service-based businesses, you might have to come to terms with the fact that people don't want your service, but you can just change the offer. It's easier than if you have physical goods and you spend like 100K buying a PO.
Super, again, the same emotional detachment, right? Like if you're too attached emotionally or too ego-driven, this is my offer, this is, I really want to do this, but nobody wants this, trying to, staying stuck to that for too long will lose you money and it will hurt.
Then you have to decide if you want to be successful or if you want to be right. If you want to be successful and people are actually not replying, you spend 3,000 euros, 5,000 euros on ads, you just do something else. Change the offer, change the niche, but do what's going to make you successful and get you the outcome that you desire, not what you think is going to get you there, because usually that's not right.
Don't blame the ads. Look at your offer.
Or look at your ad creative, but ads are just a system to scale.
All right, so I think we outdid ourselves here today with this topic, and it's like so much depth and breadth still in this topic to be explored, but this should give like a really good foundation as well to anyone watching. And I just wanted to summarize again. So we talked today about lead generation for most of it. And we looked specifically at how to reach people that don't know you yet, that you don't know maybe yet, in a way at scale, which is paid ads. And we looked at paid ads through different lenses. We talked first about, when is it right? It's right at the validation stage. You can test and validate quickly. You can do this if you have the money available. It's probably not advisable if you really need every penny in your business. You're not necessarily profitable yet. Not the best thing maybe, but if you do have the cash available, even at the validation stage, it's a great, efficient way to test. Then once you have money coming in and you want to scale your systems, that's another great stage to do ads in. Also, infrastructure considerations we had, you talked about like having, some sort of place to bring people to, be it a website, a sales page, or whatever,
information,
a
lock
database,
it in.
A database to capture the people, a way to automatically re-engage with people as data is coming in with triggers that automate follow-up. We talked about ad creatives, video, image, copy. We talked about how the creative, which is the image or the video, are more important. Copy is also important, but the first thing is the most important, the creative. And video is slightly better performing on average versus image, though there is both cases. And in both formats, you need to capture people's attention with a hook. You need to show them what they desire in a quick, efficient way. And you need to have some sort of social proof, ideally, and then some very clear CTA, call to action for them to follow up on, packaged in the most efficient way. And you can do a lot of experiments. Which
and
is
funny way, attention-grabbing way, like you want to get them excited for it.
A bold way, and then the next thing is to experiment with these variables. You mentioned the 4 variables. Help me out. So it's the creative in the front, then it's the copy, then it's the target, the audience that you're targeting, and it's the follow-up process.
Follow-up process,
so
or
audience,
landing
the
page or
logical
website.
step: audience, creative, copy, follow-up process,
or where they are going into, for example, website. And then for example, service-based businesses, the sales process is also very important. Is your sales process good? I'll give you just a quick example because I know we have to wrap it up. But I have someone that we worked with, which they literally had their offer pricing available in the ad. It's 5,000 euros. And they were getting 20 booked appointments a month with a 1,000 euro ad spend. And they were not getting any clients, even though they had 20 appointments. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I really want to help make this work. Like, you are one of our clients. I got to be there for you. And then we realized that they were completely awful at sales. And the way I figured that out was by taking a sales call myself, which I don't have to do. It's not even my industry, but I was able to close the client and they can't do it themselves. And it's their niche, it's their industry, it's what they are good at. So that's a sales process issue, not an ads issue. So in that case, we need to get them a closer to help out and be able to actually close the clients. But it goes to show that there are like 5 or 6 variables, but you are in control of all of them. This is one of the most important things to tell people. People usually think that they show up ads and they are in the mercy of the ads gods. You are in control of everything in your business, from marketing to sales to whatever, you are in control of 100% of your business. You just got to look at the variables that you control and change those. And if you don't control that specific variable, if it's something that you can't change, then it's not a problem, because if you can't change it, don't waste any energy on it and look at the variables that you actually control.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruno. So I think this wraps it up. It's an amazing amount of content here. I hope it makes it easier for people to start ads. I hope it makes it maybe more like comprehensive or more understandable for people. What is even ads? How to think about it. I think a lot of mindset as well from today that I want people who are watching this to take away. Really, everything that was said today is based on experience, on hard work, on probably failing as well. And I'll put if you think, I'll come to that in a second. If you think about working with someone, of course Bruno is also working in the space, so we'll put his name underneath his contact details so you can find him below the episode. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about the fuck ups already, because I have a last question prepared for you, because this was the ads part, this was your expertise part, but you're also an entrepreneur in different businesses. You've gone through ups and downs in this journey. So if you were to give anything to our audience just from an entrepreneur experience, like your 1 to 2 biggest fuck ups or things that you want people to take away, and maybe like underlie it with some like, how did you get to that epiphany, if anything comes up?
That's a super lengthy question. The first thing is I fucked up a lot and I want to fuck up more so that I learn more and then I can perfect what I don't know. I think one of my biggest business mistakes was wanting to be right, like what we were talking about before. When I was starting out on my marketing journey, and really at the beginning when I was a freelancer, I was doing some stuff and I wanted that to be right and I thought it was going to work, and it has to work. I don't care if I'm right now. I care about the results. So I just test as much as possible. I test the theories that I know that are more likely to succeed, and also the theories that I know that are less likely to succeed. Because at the end of the day, I don't care for being right. I care about the results. That's the first one. And the second one is you mentioned that I'm building 2 software companies. I'm not at liberty to talk about them yet, but they're going to be dropping a wait list next month. So maybe you will be able to check it out at the time that this is out. But I think choosing your business partner is incredibly important too. Incredibly important. It's one of the most important things you can do if you have a business partner, is to make sure that you are choosing someone that's right. Because usually people, when they search for a business partner, they search for like a duplicate of themselves. But you want to search for people that have expertise that you don't have and that complement you. And usually polar opposites, because that's like what you need for the business. For example, I'm very good at marketing, but I don't know how to develop software. So I have a software partner for the technical side, and it's been an amazing journey. And if I had to do it alone without him, I would probably be working on the software right now and super stressed out about it. But I'm super chill because I know that it's being well produced, and I'm preparing the marketing end, which is my responsibility, and it's what I do. So that's one of the most important things. And final one is be careful of who you trust in your life and also in business. I've associated before in the past with people and clients, for example, and you want to be careful of who you want to work with as well, because I don't want to work with every client. I don't want to work with the client that pays me the most. I want to work with a client that I can really help and that is able to do what I tell him to do, values my opinion, and that together we can grow the business. Because if not, we can't really get anywhere. And be careful of who you trust in business as well, who you deposit your trust into, especially your partner, your business partner. Those are the most important takeaways. But if you take one out of all of this, is fuck up a lot so you understand where you can improve. And don't try to be right, try to have results.
Awesome.
That's the best one.
With that, to the ads gods.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the book. Thank you for inviting me. And make sure you check out their stuff.
Thanks for being here, Bruno.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. It's done.
It's a wrap.